What's up, everybody? Once again, this is FKC Legal, unscripted. And today we are talking about companies. Companies for foreigners, companies for non-residents, and even companies for Kenyans. And we want to answer all the questions that you have in your mind, all the questions that you ask. For example, what is a company? What is an LLC? How do you go about incorporation? How long does it take? Is it expensive? Do you have to pay some money every year? So today we talk about everything companies, and we are joined with our company lawyer at FKC Legal, an expert at companies, Mr. Nathan Mwanja. And just like always, I will be your lawyer. So I'll ask all the questions that usually you ask, and I'll try to interrogate everything and anything that you always interrogate when you come to us. And our expert here, Mr. Nathan, is going to generously give us all the answers. So let's begin. But first, let's start by introduction on who Nathan is. So Nathan, your moment of fame, just tell us who you are and what you do at FKC Legal.
Hello, my name is Nathan Mwanja. I'm a lawyer here at FKC Legal. I work at the corporate department, mostly majoring on incorporation of limited liability companies, trusts, and even companies limited by guarantee and such structures.
Very good. Yeah, and you see all those things you had, all those difficult names and words and everything, we are here to break them down for you, okay? So I don't know where to begin, Nathan. Maybe we should just begin by differentiating those three things that you said. And then our focus will mostly be on companies limited by shares or limited liability companies. But just because you mentioned, just give us an explanation on what is the difference between a limited liability company, a company limited by guarantee, and a trust.
Okay, thank you. That's a valid concern. Every time we meet clients, the first question they ask us, I want to invest in Kenya. What is the best investment vehicle can I use? So we give them the possible avenues they can explore, and then we give them the advantages they can use, and then we further advise them based on the intentions and the objectives they have on the best structures to adopt. So maybe I begin with a company, a private company limited by shares.
Yes.
This is an entity majorly for business purpose. The purpose is to make profits, and therefore it enjoys three advantages. The first one is its nature is limited liability.
Okay.
So this means
Yes. Please explain to us what that means. Yes.
yeah. So limited liability means that your creditors cannot come for your personal assets. The liability of the company is limited to the shares you put at the inception of the company. And then the other advantage is a separate legal personality. This means the company acquires a personality like yours. It can sue, it can be sued, it can own property, and all that.
So let me ask you on these two things. When you say that it has limited liability, could you give us an example of a situation where a company could limit the liability or the exposure of the owner of the company?
Yes. So you may have a company, maybe you are doing a business in the furniture business. And so you've incorporated your furniture company, you're buying woods, and then you're making these various equipments, and then you're selling them.
Yes.
At that time, you're also buying wood from the farmers and the people who produce them to make these things. So the farmer will not come after you to claim the credit or any money you owe them. If a farmer has anything against you, they will sue the company and not you.
Exactly. So essentially you're saying that if there is any suit or if there's any case, it will end with the company and not with the owner of the company.
Yes.
Okay.
But there is an exception to that.
Yes.
When there is a serious question of fraud, then there is something called lifting the corporate veil. This is when they will want to look behind the company and who are the owners in this company so that they can charge you. For example, questions to do with financing of terrorism and proceeds of crime and anti-money laundering, that will warrant the lifting of the corporate veil.
Okay,
But
okay.
for the normal civil cases, they will only limit their investigation to the company.
Okay. And so someone is probably wondering, so as a foreigner or as an investor in Kenya, how is this a good thing for me? Yes.
The question on limited liability.
Yes, it's on the air exactly. How is it if it is a limited, if it has a limited liability, how is that a good thing for them?
A limited liability is a great advantage to the extent that your personal property are protected. No one will ever concern themselves with what you own outside the company.
Ah, amazing, amazing. All right. And so then, if that is what a limited liability company is, how do you distinguish that from a company limited by guarantee and then also a trust? And then you get asked a lot of times on, can I have a trust? Can the trust own my apartment? You know, so just clarify what are the differences among these three.
Okay, I'll begin by clarifying the difference between a company limited by share and a company limited by guarantee.
Brilliant.
So a company limited by share, essentially there is a paid up share capital. The paid up share capital can be the initial capital you put into the business or the initial capital you've written at the point of incorporation or the entire stock at the inception of the business.
Okay, so let me just interrupt there for a while. So are you saying that when a foreigner is incorporating a company in Kenya, there is some money that they must physically put in the company? Could you just clarify what you mean, the share capital? Yes.
No, it doesn't mean that you must put a certain amount of money into the company,
Yes.
but then there is an amount of money you need to write down as the proposed share capital of the business
Very
at
good.
inception.
Very, very good. Okay, proceed. All right, all right.
Okay, and then there is the company limited by guarantee.
Yes.
A company limited by guarantee, there is no actual paid up share capital. This is only a promise that in the event the company will go under liquidation or the company is coming up to a close, that is in simple terms, then in the event there is a liability, the shareholders have committed themselves to give a certain amount of money
okay.
to deal with the creditors.
Amazing. And actually, I like how you've distinguished that. You've made it very simple. I like that. Can you give us an example on when an investor or when a client you'd advise them to go for company limited by guarantee? In what instances would you advise them to do that?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's another valid question.
Yes.
When you're thinking about the structure to adopt, whether it's a company limited by share or a company limited by guarantee,
Yes.
it depends on the objectives.
Yes.
If you want to do business and gain profits, then the proper channel is a company limited by shares.
Good.
But when you want to engage in a non-profit endeavor, or you want to help the poor, you want to help the children, you want to help mothers or young girls, then you can use the company limited guarantee. And
Amazing.
this comes with certain advantages as to tax,
Yes.
and management.
Amazing, amazing. So essentially, I hear you to say, if we have a client who wants to establish a foundation, for example, or a charitable organization, say they want to set up something to help children's home, to help orphans, to help the needy, you'd advise them to use a company limited by guarantee and not a limited liability company.
Yes, yes.
And that's what you're saying.
Yes.
And you're saying that what are the advantages in that?
The advantage as to that is with relation to taxation.
Okay.
So when you have a company limited by shares, you are doing business. That is what they take it to mean. And therefore you are subject to a tax of 30% for the income and profit you make outside after the profit you make in the business. On the other side, you can have a company limited by guarantee and you are engaging in a money generating activity. So long as that money is used to helping what the foundation or the NGO was formed to achieve, then that money is not subject to tax.
Amazing, amazing. I like that. Okay, good. So there's a clear distinction between the two. right?
Yes.
Okay, and both of them are companies, you say?
Yes, both of them are
Very
company.
good.
They have a separate legal personality.
Very, very good. Now, thirdly, and again, I know this is a common question that you ask, how do you distinguish those two with a trust? Yeah? Yes.
So essentially, as I have said, a company is a legal entity, is an entity,
Yes.
while a trust is mostly defined as a relationship. A relationship between a settler, and I'll define who a settler is, and a trustee. So in a trust, you find there is one person who owns assets, and he wants, or he or she wants to protect these assets for the future generations. So they'll engage someone else called a trustee, and then they'll transfer the property into this relationship called a trust for the property to be protected for future generations.
Okay. So just give us a practical example on a client that you've worked with who has actually made this arrangement. Just tell us there was this client, for example, obviously without mentioning names, and so that you know this is how we've made it for them. They came in, set up a trust that did this, you know. This was a trustee, this was a settlor, this was the beneficiary. Just for the client who's watching to have a practical example on how this would work.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we had a middle-aged client who wanted to uh, put forward some assets for the benefit of his children and the future generations.
So the children, what do you call the children in those terms?
Now, in trust term, the children will become beneficiaries.
Okay, beneficiaries. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is the name of the middle-aged man? How do you call them?
In trust terms, he'll be called a settler.
So that's we have a settler and you have a beneficiary.
Beneficiary.
Okay. Proceed.
Yeah. And then the third party to this is a trustee.
Okay.
A trustee is the person who will hold those property and ensure that those properties benefit the beneficiaries who are the children.
Is that an advantage to this settler person or the beneficiaries in the event this person dies? Does it present any advantage?
Yes, this presents a great advantage. One, in terms of taxation.
Yes.
Number two, in terms of security of the property, in the sense that the settler is sure the beneficiaries, who are his children or any person named as a beneficiary, will benefit.
Okay, amazing. I wanted to ask something else also about that trust relationship. So the setup in that, so something, is this trust thing, I have two questions actually. Is it available and open for foreigners to register trust in Kenya? And then, so answer me that first. Is it available only for Kenyans or also foreigners can come and register a trust?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Yes.
A trust is open for both Kenyans and foreigners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for foreigners, there is an additional requirement.
Okay. What is additional requirement?
A requirement for a local representative to help you in that, to act for registration compliance.
Very, very good. Now, and then, is it possible, because I get this question asked a lot, if I'm coming in as a foreigner, can I come in, set up my investments here in terms of properties, you know, houses and everything, and then later on establish a trust and then transfer all these things into a trust? So is it possible for this person to kind of like have the trust as an umbrella, okay? And then everything else is owned under the trust? Or is a trust an entirely different animal altogether and it cannot own companies? Just clarify this question for us.
Okay. A trust and other business entities can work jointly in the sense that you can have a trust that owns companies, you can have a trust that owns business, and a trust can also own property.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying it's possible for this client from Australia or from the US to have several companies and then to have them owned by the trust?
Yes.
Okay. That's really, really good to know. Now, I don't think I have any other question in trusts or in company limited by guarantee, but if I think of any, I'll come back to it, okay? And now I want us to have a discussion on a company limited by shares or a limited liability company. And in this case, I want us to talk about what does it entail? How much does it cost? What are the timelines? All those things. But you know what? We'll talk about that in our next video. So please stick around for the next video.